Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, sign up for the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Get the inside scoop on all things BYU sports, and I am hearing every single day in the form of a text message coming to your phone. You get a 14-day free trial to see if it's the right option for you, and it's just $5 a month to be part of the Insiders Group. Sports the show and obviously get you the inside intel that you crave. So join us today on the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. All right, if you did not see the news yesterday, and it came out of the clear blue for at least for me, Alai Kalaniuvalu has signed with the BYU football program. Now, some of you may remember that name, some of you may not. This kid has had quite a high-profile recruitment, and it comes down to essentially I've never seen, and I'm admitting something here. I have never seen the entire series of The Office all the way through. I know a lot of the moments. I know a lot of the memes that are out there, but I've never seen the entire show. But I do know there is this snip, snap meme that I see all the time on social media, and it fits what Alai Kalaniuvalu did here during his recruitment. Remember, this is a kid who played at Timpview High School and then moved to Bishop Gorman High School down in Las Vegas. Plays on the interior of Bishop Gorman's highly touted football program, on the interior of their offensive line at center, and maybe the strongest high school offensive lineman I have seen in quite some time. He is a powerful individual, 6'4", 300 plus pounds, and there are some people that believe that at some point in the near future, obviously after he gets home off of a mission, because that's the other strange thing about this, is he signed with BYU despite already being in the mission field. He's serving a mission in the Denver area, if I recall correctly. Speaking of Denver, Colorado, but he is signed with BYU. If you remember his recruitment out of Bishop Gorman, he committed to Oregon. Then obviously decided to flip his commitment to BYU last football season, speaking of 2024. And then just days, it wasn't even days. It was the day of the early signing window. There was kind of a question like, hey, why hasn't Alai Kalaniuvalu signed with BYU yet? Well, it comes out that he has flipped his commitment back to the Ducks and signed with Oregon. So he signed the paperwork, obviously, and was going to be an Oregon Duck. And now, 4 or 5 months later, he's decided BYU is where his heart lies and where he wants to be. Could he change his mind again? I guess he could. But for now, celebrate the win for BYU. This is their third 4-star pickup in the past month and change. Nusi Taumoepeau obviously transferring from Stanford in the wake of Troy Taylor's firing. Bachmeier, same deal, a 4-star quarterback in his own right, comes to BYU after Troy Taylor was fired, and he ultimately decided to transfer out of the Stanford football program. And now you still one of the top-tier prospects from the Oregon Ducks, and I say top tier because if I recall correctly, Mitch Harper may have written this, I think. He is, speaking of Kalaniuvalu, he would be the 8th highest rated signing all time for BYU if you go by recruiting rankings. Obviously, they go back to the late 90s in most people's minds, early 2000s. It's a pretty incredible pickup for BYU. Obviously serving a mission, so he's a part of the 2027 recruiting cycle if you want to keep track at home, so you will not see him for a little while. But he's got family connections to BYU. I believe it was his brother-in-law. Is it Sonny Makasini? I'm trying to remember who it was that his sister is married to inside the BYU football program, and that obviously was a draw when he originally flipped to BYU. But then I'll be blunt, NIL and some of the offers that Oregon was throwing his way, I wouldn't have been hard. It would have been hard for me to ignore the amount of money that Oregon was apparently willing to offer him in NIL to flip back and sign with the Ducks. Ultimately, as Hart decided he wanted to be a BYU, I can't rule out that BYU maybe came back with an NIL offer, but this is a kid out there serving the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a full-time missionary. I don't think he's in hard negotiations with Coug Connect or with the Royal Blue Collective about, hey, I need this amount of money to sign with BYU, because, he's kind of got other things on his priority list. But really, really crazy recruitment, but all's well that ends well for BYU. And as I said in my YouTube short, to quote the famous line from Dumb and Dumber, this proves once and for all that you cannot triple stamp a double stamp. You're welcome, everybody. All right, but the other thing about this real quick is it shows that BYU's got major cachet on the recruiting front. NIL has played a role in it, absolutely. But I believe for years, and I think a number of you out there believe this right along with me, that if and when BYU finally was able to recruit on an even playing field with the likes of Utah and the rest of the Power Four out there, that BYU would more than hold their own. We are just seeing BYU start to blossom as a recruiting power. And it goes back to a topic we had on today's podcast in that first little stanza. I think BYU is a legit power. That was one of the quotes from an anonymous coach inside the Big 12. Well, you know what? What makes you a power is to have legitimate 4-star talent. I have long said that BYU has routinely brought in 2 and 3-star talent, speaking of the recruiting process and the recruiting rankings, and they have gotten 4 and 5-star production out of those players. What could you do with more? I say it all the time. What can you do more with more? Well, you know what more is? 4-star talents, high-level 3-star talents that BYU could have only dreamed of landing when they were an independent football program. And guys said, hey, I want to play Power 5 football. Love you, BYU, but I'm going somewhere else. That's completely changed. The whole identity for BYU on the recruiting front is changing right before our very eyes. They're bringing in legit 4-star talents, and those 4-star players, you're going to build the next iteration of BYU football under Kalani Sitake on the backs of those guys. And it sure looks like the future is very, very bright for BYU. Yeah, I know right now it seems a little murky with the Jake Retzlaff situation obviously pending out there, but the other side of it is there are 22 players on the field at any given 11 players on the field at any given time, 22 players offensively and defensively in a game. Quarterbacks are of utmost importance. There's no doubt about it, but you have to have other players around them to succeed. And a guy like Alai Kalaniuvalu, he's probably going to be the center of the future for BYU. And BYU's had some pretty good centers of late. Taumoepeau, Tejan Karoma, Jake Empey. They've had James Empey, not Jake Empey. James Empey. They've had some really, really strong offensive linemen. Alai Kalaniuvalu, at least on paper, looks like he is as good, if not better than those guys coming into BYU. He's rated 94 by 24/7 Sports. He adds, once again, to an incredibly strong 2025 recruiting cycle. And the crazy thing is, even with those additions to the 2025 cycle, 2026 could one-up it. That's what BYU is doing right now. They are completely changing their whole image on the recruiting trail. And it's happening, as I mentioned, right before our very eyes. Enjoy it. This is the coming of age moment for Kalani Sitake and the BYU football program. It's something they have long craved, the chance to really recruit with a Power 4 label attached to their name. NIL has absolutely changed the game, the transfer portal as well. But BYU's taking advantage of every opportunity given to them. And what we are observing now is the fruits of those labors. It's not been easy. BYU had to grind for a really, really long time. A, to get into the Big 12, and obviously B, to go out there and bounce back from a 5-7 debut campaign that had some people worried they couldn't compete at the Power 4 level, and then put together an 11-2 campaign last year that showed, oh yeah, they absolutely can compete. That's what young men want to do. They want to play high-level football, but more importantly than that, they want to win along with it. They want to develop their skills and go to the NFL. That's kind of the next step for BYU is to get these 4-star talents into the program, develop them, get that, once again, 5-star production from them, and then send them off to a professional career if that's what's in the cards for them. It's a really, really cool thing to watch BYU becoming what a lot of us, and yours truly included, wanted and have hoped they could be for quite some time. And it's literally happening in real time right now. All right, that is going to do it for today's edition of the podcast. As always, thank you so much for your support. Continue to subscribe, rate, review, share it with your family and friends. Let them know it's daily BYU content that's available on demand wherever you get your podcasts, also available on YouTube. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And once again, thank you to all of you who are everydayers right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.